Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of FlagPlus Football's First and Goal podcast. I'm your host, Brent Bodkin.
And I'm Quaysie Maule.
All right, so the semifinals are here for women's, for co-ed, for 5v5. So let's hop into it. We're going to go a little different this time. We're going to start with co-ed 3. So we're going to hop into co-ed 3. So looking at the division right now, our finals matchup has actually been set. So we have, looking at it right here, we have the pick artist, as you can see on your screen, the number 1 seed, 9-1 record, taking on the Dream Killers, number 3 seed, also with a 9-1 record. In some cartels, you can see they were the number 2 seed. Unfortunately, they had their season ended. Let's actually get into that quickly right now. Let's go back actually to the semifinals. I know I started off by saying the semifinals are here. Some divisions have semifinals, other divisions have finals. This is obviously the case of the latter here for co-ed 3. So let's go back to the semifinals quickly. So we saw Pick Artists knocking off Shadow Squad 36-18 to punch their ticket to the finals, and the Dream Killers knocking off Shaquille Oatmeal in a tight game 31-24. So now, like I said, number 1 seed still the Pick Artists, they're alive, and number 3 seed Dream Killers battling for the championship. Of course, championship weekend will be taking place next weekend, May 16th and 17th, down in Broussard as usual at Complex CN. So make sure to come out and try to cheer on these two teams as they go head to head for the championship. Again, so pick artists against Dream Killers, a lot of firepower on both sides. Looking at the schedule, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, both teams did not meet in the regular season. So this would be the first encounter between the Dream Killers and the pick artists. Again, I talked about some of these names, right? Naomi Forte and Herta Bees, we talked about her a lot on the podcast. Starting quarterback for the Dream Killers, she'll be there. Jacob Peltier, quarterback for Pick Artists. He'll be there as well, right? 41 TDs for him. Both teams have tons of weapons at receiver. Hubert Noel, 19 touchdowns for the Pick Artists. Vincent Larangier, 10 TDs. Noah Gill, 8 TDs. For Dream Killers, you have John Daniel Raté, you have Eleanor Lacasse, Leon Lafreniere, Marc-Andre Gauthier, right? A lot of weapons on both sides. Should be a fantastic game. Again, both teams 9-1 in the regular season, right? So it's been a while since both teams suffered a loss. Who are you picking in this game, Quaysie?
I'm gonna go pick artists. Um, again, a bit biased. I know a few of the players for pick artists. Right now, it seems like they're excelling. They only have had one loss this season. Same thing with Dream Killers. I just think the roster for pick artists is a bit more stronger than it is for Dream Killers. I'm very curious to see how Naomi Forte is how she's gonna do against a pick artist defense. She's been playing well, especially during the playoffs as well too. She got a great win versus Shaquille Oatmeal, winning 31-24, and then they got an easy. Oh, they passed pretty easy versus Padawans, winning 26-13. So kind of just going through their schedule of the games that they play. They did lose one game. They lost versus Shadow Squad, where Shadow Squad's defense is pretty elite. They have some good players, but I didn't see Dream Killers play anyone that good other than Shadow Squad and then Shaquille O'Neal, which is also a team that's kind of new and they're kind of getting things together. But I didn't see them play anyone else that has an elite defense compared to Pick Artist right now. Pick Artist defense, I want to say, is one of the best defenses out there. They're only allowing 157 points per game. So sorry, they only allowed 157 points this season, averaging teams only allowing 15 points per game. So I'm very curious to see how Naeem was going to be able to deal with that, and if she's going to be able to pick apart this pick artist defense. I don't think she's going to be able to, but I think she's going to try her best and see what she's able to do. She had a great season as well too. I don't know if she won quarterback or female quarterback of the year, but she had a great season. She threw for 1,981 yards, 47 TDs, 7 INTs, only got only got sacked 6 times, and her completion ratio is was 67, and her QB rating is 118. So she had a great season. I just don't know if she's going to be able to hang with Pickard's defense. I feel like her biggest issue is going to be how fast that they move, and they have two huge studs. One being Hubert Noel, which I believe he won two-way player of the year. He just looking at his stats here, 559 Ts, and then they got also Hendricks, that's also back. That he was injured for a few games of the season, so he didn't have that many INTs. But the games that he did play, he had 5. So those are two guys that are kind of the backbone of this team, and I'm curious. I'm curious to see how she's going to be able to do against those two.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a good game. I'm gonna also side with pick artists. I mean, I think I've seen Nomi 14 to be play a lot. She's one of the top, not just quarterbacks, not just female quarterbacks, but quarterbacks period and FPF. I know her deep ball sometimes isn't always super accurate, and then I know uh, in the games that I've score kept, it hasn't been that many games, but in the games I have score kept, I have seen sometimes a struggle to connect on the deep ball. Some of that's due to her receivers occasionally coming up with a case of the drop season, unfortunately. I just think, yeah, you're right about the ball hawks on the back end of that pick artist defense, again, led by who you talked about, Ray Huber Noel. Um, I think um again, I look at Jacob Pelche, like I talked about, Ray, more than 40 touchdowns this season. I think he's a little bit better on the deep ball. I just think I like this Dream Killer squad. I've always every time I watch them, they're a solid team, and it's kind of like it's not one or two players who beat you. It's they beat you collectively. I like their
Mhm.
team. I just think that I think if they can, if 14 Hurtubise, pardon me, can hit the deep ball consistently in that game, or if receivers can't catch it consistently, I think that's going to be a big problem. And I think I'm going to give the edge as well to pick artists. Again, I just think the playmaking they have on that back end will be able to take away maybe some of those deep shots by the Dream Killers offense.
Okay, so we're on the same. We're on the same. What do you say it? We have the same decision, same
Yeah.
part of line.
Perfect. Okay, let's go to co-ed 2. So co-ed 2, the top two teams are alive and they'll be battling for the finals. That's the number 2 seed Les Woos, who finished the regular season 8-2. They're taking on the number 1 seed Venom. So it's kind of a matchup that a lot of people might have expected between these two teams. They met once in the regular season, and it finished with Les Woos actually getting the W, handing Venom their only loss of the year. That's back on February 22nd by a score of 26-19 for Les Woos. I guess so a big victory for them, and that was back in week 8. So yeah, like I said, the end of February, they're back in week 8. Looking at the highlights from that game, so Samuel Mumbo Gucci, as we all know him, 4 TDs in that game, 2 INTs, threw touchdowns to 4 different receivers. Paul Lapierre on the other side had 3 touchdown passes, but 2 interceptions as well. Uh, so big win there for, pardon me, for Les Woos. What do you think is going to be the key for them to complete the sweep here and get the championship?
I think it's gonna be on Gucci. I think Gucci is gonna have to have a good game again. The first time they did play, it seems like if it's correct, it seems like the Wu scored 20 unanswered points towards Venom. It was 20-0 at halftime. So I don't think we're gonna see the same game regarding that way. And then Venom came back scoring 19-6. So I don't think we're gonna see the same game. I think Paul is I think he's kind of more comfortable with his squad. I was pretty high on Venom since this season. After I think week 2, week 3, I kind of jumped on board. I kind of said they probably have one of the deepest rosters. They probably have one of the best rosters, especially with Paul as quarterback, veteran guy, kind of knows what he's doing. Regarding Lewu, again, I think it's going to be on Gucci on offense and defense. He's a playmaker on both sides. I think if he struggles on the offensive side, it's not going to be the same situation where they're going to be able to come there. I think if he struggles in the back end, so at the beginning of the game, um, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to kind of come back where Paul kind of realizes what he has to do, and he's smart with the time where any mistakes that Gucci ends up having, Paul's going to take advantage of that, especially on offense. So he's going to have to have a really good game, and he's going to have a good game on defense as well too. He's going to have make sure he doesn't either be a ball hawk, get a pick, get some tackles. He's definitely going to have to be the leader for his team if they're going to want to get a win in this finals.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Venom. But sorry, Lei Wu's. I'm gonna pick Lei Wu's in this game, and man, I like what they did the first time around, and a lot of what you're saying is correct. I just think that Lei Wu's kind of found a formula last time, right, to get the job done in that matchup, and I think if they could kind of keep it the same formula, like I mean, listen, it is what it is, right? Don Shepard, close to the end zone, or if it's second or third or fourth and short, Don Shepard, the snapper, he's gonna get the ball over the middle. You know that, right? So obviously they're gonna have to find a way to kind of limit the damage that he does. I think though with Lei Wu's, I mean, I've seen Venom play. I've scored kept I think two of the games so far this year. I mean, they're athletic, they have a lot of speed. Paul has put together a good team, but Lei Wu's, I think they have just a bit more athleticism, just a bit more size too on their team. I want to go with Lei Wu's. I think again that formula that they had last time, they jumped up to that early lead. Second half wasn't so hot, but again, they got the W, and I think they're going to find a way to pull it out again.
They also did a great job versus Block Party in this. Just to go back in the semifinals, they beat Block Party 30-12. So
Yep.
I personally thought it was going to be Lei Wu's, Block Party, Venom. Those were like kind of the four teams. I wasn't that high and back that pass up as much. But those are the three teams. Then Mixology too, but I think Mixology was kind of up and down this season from when I was kind of looking at them. But I was high on the Woo at the beginning, and then I got on to Venom. So the fact that these are the two teams that are playing with each other in the finals, like I'm excited for it. But no, I understand you're kind of saying how if they lose, if Venom has that slow start and Lose has that strong start, especially in a finals, it's kind of hard to come back from that. But I think Paul's gonna I feel like I'm gonna give it more towards the veteran where Paul's gonna kind of know what kind of situation he's gonna get himself to. Again, it's hard to beat a team twice, especially
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it's a quarterback that kind of knows what he's doing, kind of what he saw, what he kind of sees. I don't think Lewis is gonna change up anything as I don't think they're gonna change much. I think they're gonna go what they've been doing. And I think Paul is one of those quarterbacks that he's gonna read off of that. Like I'm sure he already knows what he wants to run as soon as after when he realizes who he's playing against. So I'm siding more towards the veteran quarterback.
Okay, all right. That's fair. That's fair. I think honestly it's going to be a toss up. Like I don't think you could be wrong picking either team. I think again. I think just like the last meetings, that it kind of come down to the wire. I expect both teams to kind of be better in the entirety of the game, not just one team shows up in the first half or one team only shows up in the second half. I expect both teams to get a championship, right? I expect both teams to kind of come out firing on all cylinders. I just think I just think the Les Wolves will find a way to pull it out, but I mean we'll have to wait and see. All right,
Code one.
let's go to co-ed one.
Yeah, Code one is so interesting.
Yeah.
Just kind of going back to the quarterfinals again. Silly Goose took care of business, 39-14, and then IG team beats Fit Squad on a come up. Right, IG team was 0-6 at one point, and they finished 4-6. They were 0-6. I think they finished 4-6. So I think the last three games
Well,
around
they a
those.
big win over the merge, right? Because yeah, the merge 2.0 is what
Yeah, exactly.
IG team knocked off.
So they knocked out Fit Squad, got the win there. Fit Squad was kind of banged up. I don't believe they didn't have their quarterback. It is what it is. It's playoffs. And then they come into the semifinals beating the Merge 2.0, and they finally take away their terror, or you would say, right? I think the Merge was back to back to back to back champs. So I
Yeah,
think
they won three championships in a row to merge.
yeah. So this is the
So
first
their reign is
year.
over.
Exactly. This is the first season where we're not gonna have the merge going into a final appearance. So it's kind of interesting to see. And then on the other side, you have the Silly Geese, where to be honest, I thought this was the best roster up and down. You
Yeah.
had You had Kevin
Yeah.
Wyatt, you had Peterson, you had Gab, you had Rochelle, you had Emma, you had Gigi. It's like I feel like it was their season to lose. When you have
Right.
this
Right.
many
Right.
key names, and it's also to a point where like, okay, well, they just started, and you had Ben too. It's to a point where like, oh yeah, like, well, they just started playing with each other. Yes, but when you have Kevin, you have Jessica as well too. When you have Kevin at the throne, throwing balls to Emerson, to Gab, to Emma, to Rochelle, to Ben, it's just like it's like pick your poison, right? We could beat you here, you can beat you here, and even if you have perfect covers, Kevin's has a way to kind of get the ball into the right spot. So I'm kind of surprised that Lego My Flag took that win from them. I know during the regular season, I believe they shared 1-1. I think Lego My Flag got the first one, Sillygeese got the second one, and then at the end of the day, Lego My Flag gets the last one, winning 34-32. So again, close game, but I think this year it was the Silly Goose's year to lose, and unfortunately they did.
Yeah, yeah, good. I'm surprised as you are. I thought for sure the Silly Geese would make it to the finals at the very least, right? So yeah, good. Credit to Lego My Flag. They got the job done. So now yeah, they take on the IG team, right? So Lego My Flag, 2 seed, IG team, the 4 seed. They met twice in the regular season. Lego My Flag won both meetings. They won in week 9 by a score of 34-30. And then 2 weeks later, so in week 11, they met again. Lego My Flag winning by 3 points this time, 28-25. So obviously, Lego My Flag looking for the clean 3 game sweep. As they say in football all the time, right? It's hard, basketball, whatever the case is, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. So we're gonna have to see now. Can IG team again? This IG team veteran squad, they have a couple of championships under the belt. It's been a couple of seasons since they won one, but again, that core of the squad, right? Jean-Lee Alexi is still there. Obviously, the heart and soul of that team, right? You have Gucci on that team as well. Obviously, big time player. Christopher Jumel, who's played a couple years on the team. Shani Louis Jacquet. Yvonne Salomon's there too. A lot of names, Leticia and Galu, Chloe Corbet, right? A lot of veterans on the squad. So I'm really excited, and Constance Millar, obviously, here as well. Jordan and Alexi too, right? I'm excited. Like this team is deep. The IG team. I think this team is better than some of their older championship teams. I think this team, those older championship teams were top heavy. It's pretty much Jean Lee tossing it up to his brothers. Uh, most of the females were kind of an afterthought, which I don't, you don't like to see that. I
Mhm.
feel now some of the females they have on their team really play a big role in the success of this IG team. They're not as top heavy. They're kind of like a 1 through 7 or 1 through 8, whatever the case is, in terms of the players they have on their squad. I'm too lazy to count. But you get contributions from everybody, and everybody gets the ball, right? It's not being thrown to just only 1 or 2 players. But again, Lego My Flag, right? A really good team. They knocked off the heavyweights, obviously, in the Silly Geese. I see this going down to the wire, man. I'm excited to see what the outcome will be, and of course, we'll talk more about or we'll preview the finals, I should say, on our final episode next week.
Yeah, exactly. Too. I'm thinking it's gonna be a good game. Also, shout out to IG team. You guys didn't have the best season. You guys went 4-6. During the back end, you guys went 3-1. So good on them. And then you guys beat the merge, where again, defending champs back to back. I feel like the merge, they finished the season 9-1. There's a reason why they've won so many championships, and the fact that they're able to get a win, a semifinal win against a team like this, it just shows that they're going up and not down. And I think now they're excelling. So that's a perfect time, especially during playoffs, where you kind of want to put your foot to the pedal. And I think right now it's the best time they're at. And the same thing with Lego My Flag, right? They just beat the Silly Geese, but it's to a point where I hope they don't kind of put that as because technically, like, I could have saw Lego My Flag versus the City Geese as a championship matchup, right? So I'm hoping Lego My Flag
Yeah,
didn't give
yeah.
all they have in that semifinal match, and they come kind of flat into the finals, where I think the IG team they're gonna come out swinging off the bat. So it's gonna be interesting to see. how this finals is gonna end up happening. But again, we're gonna talk about it more next week uh, when we have our breakdown.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay.
Uh, Code five v
Let's
five.
go to 5v5, yeah, intermediate. So bit of confusion right now with the schedule. I know so I'm looking at it online, right? So it says there's a matchup between only semifinal matchup this coming Monday at Status Soccer. Red Zone, who are the number 3 seed, taking on the number 4 seed. Flags don't lie. Obviously, as you guys can see in your screen in the quarterfinals, you also had Team Quebec U18 knocking off Team Quebec U16. And then there's no final between Flag Avengers and Benchwarmers. So I have to wait and see. Unless I don't know if you know something more than I do. But
I do not know. I'm assuming. I think the issue was. I think Team Quebec was supposed to go somewhere, or they're supposed to leave somewhere like next week, so they couldn't play on the Monday. I think there was a conflict issue. I think they're gonna move it to like a random like Wednesday or Thursday around those lines because it's gonna be Team Quebec, and I believe it's against Flag Vengers. I think Flag Vengers won the game versus the Benchwarmers. Kind of, I think it just I don't think it's synced, but I think there's a issue between Flag Vengers and Team Quebec, or there's an issue between the Benchwarmers versus Team Quebec. I know there's an issue with the conflict schedules on why they couldn't play the game. That's why the game couldn't be played on the Monday. That's the reason why it's not there because they're supposed to be playing. I think one team is supposed to play at 9 and one team is supposed to play at 10 around something like that, or 9 or 10 and one team is supposed to play at 11 or 9 or 10 was supposed to be back to back to each other. So I think that's the issue that there is that's happening right now.
yeah, well, I'm on the. I remember seeing yesterday on the Facebook group. Of course, make sure to join the FlagPlus Football Facebook group. Uh, Make sure to join. You can find out all the information. I know. So Victor Lasnier Davies, we talked about in the previous episode, he was reaching out to talk to some members from the Team Quebec U18 team. So I know there definitely appears to be a scheduling conflict. Hopefully, we'll have an answer for you as to what's going to happen with that semifinal matchup. Because again, like I said, Red Zone against Flags Online, that's supposed to be happening this coming Monday. We just don't know what's going to happen with the other game. Because again, Team Quebec U18 did beat Team Quebec U16. We just have to wait and see when their matchup's going to take place. So if we don't have it by the end of this episode, for sure, we'll talk about it. We'll recap whatever game happens next week on the final episode.
Yeah, and then
Okay,
again we
so
have Flags Don't
sure,
Lie that played. Yeah, so continue go.
no, just yeah. So yeah, Flags and Lie, like you're saying, they played twice against the Red Zone. Red Zone winning in week 8, 35-33, and then Flags Don't Lie winning the rematch in week 10, 43 to I believe 15. So getting a little revenge. Obviously, this matchup on Monday night at Status Soccer will be the rubber match between Red Zone and Flags Don't Lie. How do you see this game shaking out?
Depending who's gonna rush Mark. I know it's still 5v5, but I think maybe they're doing maybe a dual quarterback thing to make sure Mark can use his legs a bit. So we're gonna interested to see how that's gonna work. Um, to be honest, here, I like Flags Don't Lie uh, taking this win here. Um, I think both teams are kind of easy matched up. I just like it's like a weird saying. I like I like Flags Don't Lie a bit more. I feel like Mark is a bit more mobile, and the fact that it's 5v5, he can't really use his legs unless there's a pass, there's a handoff to him. I think that sometimes with quarterbacks, I like to run, not run all the time, but their first read is kind of sorry, when they feel comfortable running. Um, I feel like when there's a handoff, it kind of screws up the offense a bit. So I think that's going to have a big factor. But again, same thing kind of with Flags Don't Lie. Sorry, same thing with kind of Flags Don't Lie. Again, if that's the situation, they're going to have to make sure that Mark can't run. I personally just think Flags Don't Lie is the better team. I think it's going to be close, but
Okay.
I think they're going to take the win.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a close game as well. I think so when I look at this team, right? Like when I look at like Flags Don't Lie, like I think I think they have the not the deeper team per se, but I think their team I think the roster is a little bit better. Like when you go through like your top of your roster to the bottom of your roster, um, Olivier Sabarin, right, the quarterback for Flags Online, he is prone to throwing some INTs. So I think Marc Andre Reeves is definitely the better quarterback in this matchup. Uh, I'm kind of on the fence for this one. Okay, so if you're gonna take Flags Online, I'm gonna go with Red Zone, and I'm giving it specifically just because of the advantage of Marc Andre Reeves gives them at the position at quarterback. Because again, Olivier Sabrin, I played against him before. He's a good receiver, good defensive back. I haven't really seen him play quarterback all that much. I saw a game, I think last year, but that's pretty much about it. So I'm gonna pick yeah, I'm gonna pick red zone, I think, to get the W here. Again, just because of the quarterback advantage I think that they have with Marc Andre Reeves at the position.
Okay. Let's go to competitive 5v5.
Give me one second.
All right. So Brent's gone for the moment. So I'm just gonna kind of go down to the breakdown for 5v5. So quarterfinals, we had 4 games. We had Flagmois versus KGP. I played for KGP. It was a good game. Came down to the final stretch. Flagmois got the best of us, so they're gonna advance. We had Raw Dogs versus Naproxen, so I got to watch. I got to watch pretty much half of that game, where it seemed like Naproxen was kind of doing their thing, and then all of a sudden Raw Dogs just exploded, and they took a 23 point win. Then we had Montreal Magics versus the Braves. Unfortunately, Montreal Magics couldn't fill a roster, so the Braves got a win there as a forfeit. And then we had Party Crashers, the team to beat this year, playing Blue Dry 10.1. I heard it was a bit chirpy regarding both these teams, but Party Crashers kind of showed exactly who they are. They're the team. I believe they're the team to beat right now, even though them and Braves both finished 9-1. Both competitive and both competitive 5v5 and division and 6-on-6. They're both right now. They're excelling. I'm not saying they don't usually excel, but this is the year. Like if someone asks me like, is this the year for Party Crashers? I would have like, yeah, say yeah, this is the year for Party Crashers. So they got the win 42-18 with I would say ease after the second drive. I think they kind of just took control, and then going into the semifinals, we actually have two pretty good big games where Flagmois versus Party Crashers. I think that's going to be a really good game. And then Raw Dogs versus Braves. I think that's also going to be a pretty damn good game where Raw Dogs, to be honest with you, I think Raw Dogs sometimes is the kryptonite of Braves when they're on point. So it's going to be interesting to see both of these. Both it's going to be interesting to see that matchup. And I'm also really excited for Flagmois versus Party Crashers. I'm going to be at the field scorekeeping. It's not my field's gonna be next to me, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be locked in for some of those plays regarding both these teams.
Who cares about the game on scorekeeping? It's all about watching this game.
No, maybe my game has an early halftime, like it kind of glance to the side. I'm really good at multitasking too, so.
I hear you. I hear you. I'll give people at home a secret at being a scorekeeper since we're both scorekeepers. Yeah, that happens sometimes. The game you're watching could be great, but sometimes when you get to like these really established teams, like especially for some big names, you're kind of looking over here and there sometimes.
Yeah,
You're
or
paying
sometimes
attention to your game, you're taking your stats, but you look over here and there.
I think with that there was a fight or like there's a brawl, and I kind of turned my head. I was kind of looking, and all of a sudden there was a touchdown. I kind of looked. I was just like, yeah, I don't know who scored that touchdown. They're like, who scored? I was like, I don't know who scored. I was like, oh, bro,
Yep.
I saw some hand swing. I looked, and all of a sudden the ref was looking at me. And he was telling me 2-point convert, and I was just like, okay, but did they score? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. So I asked one of the players. I'm like, oh, who scored a touchdown? They told me, but sometimes that does happen.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Thank God for the refs. I mean, they're usually on the ball, right? So, it's always good to have a second pair of eye, and we help them out too. Sometimes they miss a call, and we help them out. So I mean, it works both ways. It works both ways.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah. So Thanks for covering there for a second. Yeah. So yeah, Party Crashers again 9-1, right? Flag Sack 6-4. They met in the regular season. Flag whipped it. So Flag has been the only team that's knocked off the Party Crashers and competitive, right? They beat them 35-34 in week 10. So obviously both teams are looking to they go head to head again. Party Crashers looking to avenge that loss and punch their tickets to the finals. The Braves, they in their matchup, right? I mean, it is what it is, right? You want to look at their upcoming game, right, against the Raw Dogs. They laid a beat down on the Raw Dogs, 38-12, right? So I mean, obviously Raw Dogs looking for a little bit of revenge there. Again, both those games happening tomorrow in Broussard. I didn't. Did you make your picks? I didn't catch that. If you did,
No, I didn't make my picks, but I'm gonna
okay.
go. I'll make it now. I'm gonna go Party Crashers and Braves.
Okay. I mean, listen, kind of similar to Division One, right? Where people think it's going to be the Party Crashers and the Braves in Division One. It's I'm leaning towards that as well. I mean, I want to say Flamois to sack. So if they pull off the W, okay, it's 1 versus 5, right? In terms of the rankings, one team finished 9-1, the team in Flagmont finishing 6-4. But like I said, Flagmont did knock off the Party Crashers, so I can't see it be a gigantic upset if they do it again. But will it still be an upset? Yeah, I think so. Looking at the Raw Dogs, I mean, listen, Jeff Rosenblatt, one of the zillion teams that he plays on, he has a
He
good
doesn't
roster,
throw.
right? Jordan Panetta.
He
Sorry.
doesn't throw for Raw Dogs though. Like
Yeah,
he
so
does,
yeah,
but
so
he
yeah.
doesn't. Like he doesn't like. He'll throw when games don't really matter, but when it comes, like I'm pretty sure he's not throwing versus this Braves team.
Okay,
I
so
think
yeah,
he
so
will.
then it's going to be Jordan Panetta, right? I was going to say, so the other quarterback will be Panetta. So it's funny because this is like a bit of it's a mixture of like silent ticklers. So you have Adam Rosen, Daniel Mancini, Tyson. Well, Otis Copeland's not eligible to play for the playoffs. Neither is Ben. But then you have Ahmed Boubacar. Yeah, Craig Yates. Craig Yates is one of the most underrated players, I say, in FPF. I've seen this guy play in a lot of different teams over the last couple of seasons. He could ball. Gianni Johnson, he's a guy, I won't lie, I have not seen play yet. I'm just looking what he did and he played 7 games regular season. Yeah, he only had 7 catches, 1 touchdown. And it's these type of players who I haven't seen yet. Who I'm always excited to get out there and see. He had 1 tackle on defense. So obviously, he's not a huge part of the team, but he's eligible to play in the playoffs. So we're gonna have to see what happens with him. I'm excited to see what happens. I still don't think I think though the Braves will be able to come out of this one. I mean, listen, the Braves are the standard in FPF, at least for 5v5, as far as that is concerned. I'd be shocked at the Raw Dogs if they pulled out the upset here. I think it'd be a bit closer of a game than what it was in the regular season. I don't see the Raw Dogs all knocking off the Braves.
They did it once. They did it once. I think two seasons ago or three
Yeah.
seasons ago. They did it once. So I mean, it's possible, but not. It's possible, but not. I don't think it's gonna. Me there. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, if we're wrong, we're wrong. If it happens, that's great, and we'll say we're wrong on next week's episode. But I don't know. But we'll wait and see, right? You have to wait and see. You have to go onto the field and play the games. Never a given. So, well, wait and see. Maybe we will be wrong.
Yeah. Go to competitive 5v5. Co-ed
Yeah.
competitive 5v5.
Cool. Yeah. Good.
So again,
Yeah. So yeah, go for it.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say the matches, but I mean, yeah, nice to meet you against Flagmont de Croix. So speaking of Flagmont, the Sac, this is obviously their other team, and then we have your team, the Airbuds, taking on ATs and Dummies. So 2 big matchups coming up here tomorrow. Oh, sorry, Monday night actually, I should say. My bad, Monday night. That's the soccer to figure out who's gonna punch their ticket to the finals.
Yeah. Um, I'm excited for 5v5 too. We had a couple upsets. We had for going to quarterfinals, Flagmont took care of Team Rocket. Again, we talked about Team Rocket. They're kind of struggling. I feel like it was
Yeah.
the least amount of it was the weakest roster. So, anyways, it is what it is. And then Nice to Meet You gets a huge win versus Spicy Braves, where Joe Meyer wasn't the quarterback. You had William Kutse, but again, Nice to Meet You still got that win. We had Rory on the call with us, on the podcast with us a couple weeks ago, and we're kind of talking about he's probably the one team where every single game, every matchup that they played this season, they only lost by 1 score. So it was a team that was kind of scary to end up playing against in the playoffs. And you just kind of see it here where I think Nice to Meet You was the 7th seed. Yeah, so the 7th seed knocked out the number 2 seed, which the game was pretty good. But Nice to Meet You ended up having a last drive. Rory ended up scoring the game-winning touchdown as well too. So they got to punch their tickets to the semifinals. And you had Airbuds that played Goddam. We ended up winning that game 32-0. They didn't have the best game. Jean Slee was also hurt during that game, so that didn't really help them as much too. They kind of had a 3 quarterback system going for them during the last couple games in the regular season, where that play calling style was working, and then you take away Jean Slee and his versatility, it kind of changes how their offense kind of worked. And unfortunately, I kind of took advantage of that situation, and I also kind of know how Tam kind of runs the offense now lately since we've been playing on the same team, and so I had a good game plan going into that game, so that's the reason why they didn't really score any points. And then we had ATN.
What was your game plan?
Sorry.
What was your game plan? You had a good game plan. What was it?
I don't want to expose Tam if he ends up playing Cohen again. No, we just no.
He's
I
not
just
playing anymore.
kinda,
That's next season's problem. Next season, Tam can worry about that.
no. I took away his verts. I made sure nothing over top. So we played a lot of lock formation. A lot of time in 5v5 where if a team sends three three deeps, right? It's kind of impossible to cover because it's 5v5, right? You always have two guys. You always have two players under, two or on top. So I kind of just locked anything on the outside. So let's just say we ran a 1-2 with a 4 lock. So it's to a point where nothing went over the top. Like you should get beat deep in that formation, and everything underneath you kind of just have to tackle. So we kind of went to the fact where, hey, we're not going to give everything over top. We'll give everything underneath. And then sometimes you want to force something over top, and it's just not there, and you get frustrated. So that was kind of the game plan. And then we had AT and Dummies versus Maple Syrup, where that game came down to like the last. I believe it was very much the last play where AT and Dummies took advantage. They scored a touchdown. Then Maple Syrup got the ball, driving on the field, and then I believe Lori. I want to say her route was maybe a 10 out or a 10 out back in the end zone, and ball got thrown to her, hands out, and she ended up dropping it, and they end up losing the game.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's how the Maple Syrup dynasty. Well, they didn't start a dynasty yet, but for 5v5, that's how they kind of how their season kind of ended. And then semifinals, we get Nice to Meet You versus FlagPlus Football, which should be a good matchup again. I think Nice to Meet You is one of the scariest teams in co-ed 5v5, especially with Ben under snap there, where anything is possible. You have Bakari, you have Ethan as a great rusher, you have Rory, good receiver. They have great girls as well too. And then another matchup, you have AT and Dummies versus Airbuds, where again you have the backbone, me, Briswa, Constance, Emma, Rochelle. And then you have 18 Dummies, where you have Sarah Parker, Bubakar, I think,
Emerson.
Emerson, exactly. Abby Duell, she's pretty good. You should have a bunch of good players as well. As again, 5v5 it's stacked with so many talent. So every matchup is pretty much a good matchup.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm looking forward to. I'll be able to start. I was talking to Sarah yesterday, so I'm going to be able to start checking that out. Should definitely be good. Obviously, you
We play
guys
it,
again.
but we
Hey,
play Monday though. We don't play in
sorry,
Boston.
sorry. Okay, my bad. Sorry, Monday. You're right. Sorry, so I'm watching a women's game tomorrow. So my bad. Hey, listen, give yourself credit. I mean, yeah, John Cena got hurt for gun down, but I mean, you guys pitched a shutout. A shutout's a shutout, right? Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. You shut out the team. That's something you guys should hang your hat on. So good job by you guys. Like you said, Spicy Braves obviously coming onto the wire. Nice to meet you getting the W. I was watching the game Five Mod the Quad against Team Rocket. I didn't say a lot of scorekeeping in the field. right next to it, but I had to, again, like I said, right, I'm looking over to see what's happening. Yeah, Team Rocket in that game. Again, Balan, he tried, man. Like it was just what they were doing. They got behind. It was 20-14 at the half for Flagmore the Quad, so not a big blowout. It's just they started to go up a bit in the second half, and then they forced Team Rocket. Guillaume Ballon, he had to sit back and just so deep all game. So Flymont the Qua, veteran team, was sitting back, batting down balls. That's all they had to do, right? It wasn't that hard. But I came away impressed though. So like I hadn't seen Team Rocket play this year. I've seen some of the players on other teams play, but I hadn't seen them as a team play. And I came away impressed. Like there was no quit in that team. They were going hard. They ended up getting blown out 40-13, but there was no quit in that team. So obviously a little bit more experience under their belt for some of their players, and they'll be better, right? Hopefully, they can use this as a learning experience. But like you said, sorry, going forward to the semifinal matchups, right? Again, nice to meet you, Flamand Dequa. Again, two dangerous teams. If I'm gonna pick though, I am gonna pick a winner here. I think I'm gonna say I like Ben. Ben's my guy, and it was Rory as well. Bakari, they have a lot of veterans on the team. I want to go though with Flagmont Dequa.
Okay.
I think Flamand the Quad, they have even more experience, if you can believe that or not, over a team like Nice to Meet You, who will have a ton of experience on the squad. Although I'm going to pick Flamand the Quad. Um, the reason why you might be asking why I'm going to pick that, I mean, listen, the quarterback, Alex Nando is one of the greatest of all time in the history of FPF, right? He's been to the mountaintop plenty of times, as has Ben. I just think, though, that Alexander Puis is still at this stage, still the better quarterback. That's why I'm picking Fly Mod the Quad to get the W.
Okay. Um,
And any other matchup again? You guys against AT and Dummies. I'm gonna pick you guys. I'm gonna pick you guys. I have all the respect in the world for Sarah Parker and her squad. They talked about a lot of playmakers on their team. But I think your team is deeper. I think than ATs and dummies. So I'm gonna pick you guys to get the W.
okay. I'm gonna pick us too. So we're
Hope
we're on
so.
the same page with that. I'm actually gonna take Nice to Meet You though.
Okay. Okay.
I personally think Flagmont is the better team on paper. I just think Nice to Meet You is here for upsets. I think they beat Spicy Braze, and I think they're just coming. They're coming out for blood. I know they're not. I know they're not going. I know they're not backing down from anybody. That defense is legit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep. Very true.
They know how to. They know what they're doing. I think it took some time to adjust, especially during the regular season. That's why some of their games are super close. But I think if Ben is able to just have a good game, that defense is able to not just don't give anything easy to Flagmore. That's one thing they kind of excel. Like nothing over the top. Let Nano Peace kind of struggle, kind of the same way in 5v5, where give everything underneath and then put him in a 4th and 9, 4th and 10, 4th and 13, something where it's outside the red zone where he has to make a play. And one thing, the difference between co-ed and 5v5, co-ed and men's is that timing routes for certain players are not there. So um,
Right. Right.
you get a bigger advantage when a team is 4th and 13 because he doesn't have those certain routes where he would have connection with his main core where things are a bit slower for certain receivers and timing routes and stuff like that. So I think Nice to Meet You just to make sure you just don't give anything easy, give anything underneath, and kind of make a defensive stand when it's like 4th and 8, 4th and 9, around those lines, and just try to keep in range. Where a point where they kind of did the same thing as
Yeah.
Spicy Rays, where they stuck in the game where I think at one point I think Braves were up by a halftime. I think Braves were up by it was 19-13, and Braves scored off the first wait, is it 19? No, sorry, this is the other game. Let me just kind of look at it. Playoffs here. Nice to meet you. Yeah, so Braves were up 30-21, and I believe they scored the first drive. They made it 36-21, and then Nice to Meet You kind of just came out swinging after the second half, scored, stop, and they ended up scoring pretty much the last play of the game, and they got a win. So I think they kind of have to do kind of similar thing. Just keep fighting, never stop, and maybe don't allow 30 points the first half, but just try to
Yeah.
keep in range where it's still doable. To I would say in this case, get the upset.
All right. We're gonna see. I mean, like you said, you talked about that defense. I mean, the defense is gonna have to be on point, right? You got to slow down Samuel Nadeau, please. Obviously, Francois Rochelot, you Charbonneau, and the rest of his crew here. I mean, Rosalie Landry as well, impact player. I think it's gonna be a tight game. Goes down to the wire. Again, you're picking. Nice to meet you. I'm gonna go with Flamand de Croix. I have to wait and see what happens.
Let's go women's three now.
So women's three, we have a familiar matchup. It's going to be the number 2 seed, She Sparks. They're taking on the number 1 seed, the Hebrew. These two teams have met already in the regular season. She Sparks winning 26-19 in week 4, and the Hebrew getting revenge, winning 19-8 in week 8. So obviously, this is going to be the rubber match between these two teams. I know we had a couple of ladies on from She Sparks earlier this season. Of course, pardon me, we're talking about obviously Tabitha Thomas, who was on there. Who was on there? Sorry, it's horrible English right now. Tabitha Thomas, who came on a little earlier this season onto the pod, or she was joined obviously by Rashani Mitch, who came on as well. So shout out to those two ladies. I know they watched the pod. So again, rubber match against Lehibu. Again, without a shadow of a doubt, these were the two top teams. Like I said, in this division, Lehibu finishing with 8-1-1 record. She Sparks 8-2, right? So again, like I said, they split the regular season series. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the final matchup again, going for it all for the women's three championship. Looking at how both teams got here, Lehibu dominating Dynamics 46-0 in the semifinals back on May 4th at Stade de Soccer. And then Brassard as well on Monday, May 4th. She Sparks knocking off the A-Town 42-20. So I know for She Sparks, that's a bit of a rematch. They had beat down A-Town a couple weeks before that. So then they beat them down in the regular season. They beat them down as well in the playoffs. So two teams, high scoring offenses, prolific offenses, again, both dropping 40 burger on their opponents, and She Sparks doing it to A-Town, and Lehibu doing it to Dynamics. Obviously, Dynamics, so getting that shutout, like we talked about before, right? With your team, the Airbuds, you shut somebody out, you
Yeah,
can talk
no,
all the trash you want, right? So it's
no,
going to be
it's
interesting to see what
definitely
happens in the finals.
it's definitely something to win 46-0. To be honest, I'm surprised CCL beat Spartans. I always figured Spartans would probably had a better fight against the Hebrew, but again, it's playoffs. It is what it is. And She Sparks really making a statement versus A Town, where their quarterback Gabrielle threw for 311 yards, 7 TDs, and then you had Victoria Bouchard, 13 catches, 208 yards, and 4 TDs, and then also Haley Hallier.
Oh, there,
Um,
yeah.
she dropped also 3 touchdowns on 68 yards. Defense also
Yeah.
played. Also, defense played well. Victoria also had 3 INTs, so she had 200 yards, 4 TDs plus 3 INTs. So she's as again. They're kind of saying that she wasn't there the last game that they played. I think, or the previous last game. We kind of talked about it briefly, but she makes a big difference between this team, and it kind of just shows to get 200 yards plus 4 TDs and 3 INTs in a playoff game shows something, and she's definitely going to be needed going into this final matchup against Hebrew.
100%. 100%. I mean, again, big performances like you talked about, right? For 208 yards, 4 TDs. I mean, that's a season for some people. So I mean, that's pretty impressive. And like talked about
Exactly.
Gabriel Brega, 7 TD passes. That's superb, to be honest. I mean, it's domination on both sides of the ball. Obviously, I think it's going to be a tougher matchup against the Hebrew. It's going to be
Mhm.
so you look at this Hebrew team, right? I mean, coming in again, like I said, they had the best record in this division, finishing 8-1-1, right? And we talked about plenty of times on this podcast, right? The quarterback play from Dorian Ottawa Biro, right? 36 touchdowns in the regular season, only 3 INTs. She kind of took over for Emily Adam, right? And then she hasn't skipped a step, and she's been phenomenal this season. You look at this offense, right? I mean, you look at their top four receivers, right? I'm talking about Beatrice Dubois, Eleanor Lacasse, we talked about earlier in co-ed, Beatrice Lemay, and Marielle Plante, right? All four of those ladies, they all have at least, may as well, so I'm going to round it up, at least 350 yards receiving. They'll have at least 8 touchdowns, right? You look at Dubois, almost 600 yards receiving with 9 TDs, and then you look at Lacache, right? Almost 500 yards receiving with 11 touchdowns. This team could score, and it could score a lot, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how the She Sparks defense kind of slow down the Hebrew offense. They did it once in the regular season, but now playoff time, right? You going for the championship? Can they do it twice? We're gonna find out.
Yes, sir. Let's go to women's 2.
It's a women's too, so to the surprise of no one, Chaos is in the finals. There's a bit of a
Barely,
surprise though. Is who they're playing?
barely,
Sorry.
barely.
Yeah, so I was gonna say a bit of a surprise in terms of how it happened. They so credit. So you know what? Let's get it out here in the open. We have talked plenty of times this season about how we thought Chaos should be a women's one team. We still do think that. But shout out to the rest of the teams, right? In women's too, right? Chaos, not an easy trip. Not an easy trip to make it to this point, right? To make it to the finals. They almost lost in the quarterfinals to Valhalla, right? Chaos, credit to them, pulling it out 29-27. So good job by them. Bit of an easier time though in the semis against Wolfpack. They dominated Wolfpack 44-12. But again, Valhalla giving Chaos a run for the money. So shout out to the ladies for Valhalla, almost pulling off what many thought, and rightfully so, would have been a massive upset.
Yeah, I was watching that game, and it was, to be honest with you, it's to a point where you're kind of watching it and you're like, are they gonna lose? Are they gonna lose? And it just like, I remember Valhalla scored at a last, well, not, they scored at like, I think maybe there was, I want to say there was 3 minutes left in the game, or there wasn't that much time left. But when they scored, I feel like the air just kind of got sucking up, and then Allison just kind of went down the field and she drove, and then she ended up scoring, and then they went for the 1 point convert to tied the game, and I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure we got overtime here, ended up going overtime, and they end up getting out of it. So big win for Chaos. Good job for Valhalla, kind of just sticking in there, because this game could have been a blowout. The game was 13-0 to start the game off, and you thought the game was over. Like, it was 13-0. I was like, oh, okay, the game's over. I looked back, and I think it was 14-13. I was confused. I was like, what's going on here? But they end up getting a win. I got to see Nomads versus Cavaliers BDEB, where BEDB didn't have their quarterback, so they went with their coach, Morgane Lafaux. She
Yeah,
did
yeah,
a great
yeah.
job. She actually played one game before the playoffs started. I think she played Wolfpack, and they did a great job on getting a blow off there. But she did great. She did what she had to do. I always found it funny for Cavaliers. Um, all their numbers are high. So literally, their starting offense, which is five girls, or basically, yeah, they're five girls that kind of play offense. They're 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. So I kind of, when I was doing this, the stats, I found it kind of funny. I was like, oh, who has it? 35? Oh, 36. I was like, who would want big numbers like that? But anyways, it is what it is.
Too much
Um,
safeties.
yeah, exactly. But anyway, they did a great job. They ended up pulling it out there. Halftime was 13-13. Second half, I think they wanted a bit more than Nomads. Nomads kind of had a bit more, not bust. They just weren't able to execute on offense, and that's kind of the reason why they only scored 7 in the second half. And Cows were able to kind of just execute a bit more, and they end up winning that game 25-20. So big win on their end to kind of look back. Old school. I watched Wolfpack and Old School. I didn't know what was going on in this game. Um, there was no offense. It was all defense, stop after stop after stop. I think the first play, to be honest with you, the first play was a touchdown, and then after that, it was completely dead. And then there was an air touchdown scored in the second half. But
Okay.
I was kind of surprised. I figured Old School was at least going to score some points. They had a great season. They finished 9-1 or 8-1, I think. They finished 9-1. So to finish 9-1 and to score 0 points is kind of weird to see. To kind of see the
Yeah.
fact that they also only scored 204 points for all year is also kind of concerning because it's only 20 points per game against some of these teams in women's two where you could have dropped way more. But again, playoffs, it's something that's kind of how it is. Wolfpack played a great game, and then they got the W. And then going into the semi matchups, again, we kind of saw Chaos played Wolfpack. Chaos won by 32, so they made sure there's no overtime, no panic, took care of business. Again, these teams are kind of used to each other, and I feel like Chaos usually gets the upper hand versus Wolfpack. And then Cavaliers BDB played a great game versus Supernova. Their quarterback came back for that game. She played decent enough. She threw for 288 yards, 4 TDs, 2 INTs that didn't really help her out. But her defense was able to kind of come in the clutch and only allowed Supernova to score 19. And then they got to punch their ticket into the finals.
Yeah, that's it. Shout out to them. Also, so the Morgan LaFoe pulling they call it the Gotama, can never pronounce his last name, Gotama Somindahan or Gino DeFazio Rover. You're coaching a team, and you don't really play any games, but you show up to every game because you're a coach.
Yeah,
And
you're there. Yeah,
when something happens, you have the games played. You could sub,
yeah.
you could sub for your team and play. So
Comes in clutch, to be honest with you, because if they didn't have her, I mean, I don't know who would have won quarterback for them. So
yeah, they probably would have lost. Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And that's why you do that as a coach. I mean, if you're eligible to play, you fit the cap, you come to all the games. Just because you're not playing doesn't mean you kind of help out. And when your number gets called, and there you go. So I remember seeing Gautama do that with the X-Men years ago. So like a young Emerson Peterkin and all those guys were playing on the team. Noah, so his son and that, and the quarterback. Can't remember who. I think the quarterback was Noah. So many. Sorry, Noah. I used to be able to pronounce it properly. Noah Swamindahan. He got hurt. I think the other brother got hurt, so Gautama ended up coming in and leading the X-Men to a championship. That was his first and only game played that year. He was already retired, but
I think
he
I
was
remember.
coaching
I
and
think
coming
I
to all the
remember that.
games. Yeah, yeah. Why
Yeah,
not? You
yeah.
can do it. Why not? And so, congrats to the
Sure.
Cavs. Obviously, a bit of a disappointment. A lot of us thought the Nomads would be taking on Chaos for the finals. But hey, listen, you got to go out and win the game, and obviously, Nomads could not do that, and Cavaliers did. So, congrats to those ladies on making the finals. It should be a fantastic matchup as they take on Chaos. I know they met in the regular season. I believe the regular season finale actually, I think, was the first time these two teams met. Yeah, Chaos winning 34-12 back on April 6th. So now obviously the Cavs could take something out of that game and hopefully make the rematch a little bit closer for the finals next weekend.
Mhm. Let's finish off with women's
Uh,
one.
yeah, yeah, wrap it up here. So yeah, women's one. So we have so Blue Pod's gonna take on Sub Zero. So Sub Zero obviously the top seed in women's one. They're taking on Blue Pod. They met twice in the regular season, both in week 1 and week 2. I'm surprised it was so early in the season, at least back-to-back games so early in the season. Sub-Zero blowing them out both times. They won week 1, 38-18, and then trounced them 31-7 in week 2. Another meeting we have a little bit closer. The number 2 seed, the Matrix, taking on the number 3 seed, Cayenne. They met 3 times in the regular season. So Matrix won week 1, 36-35. Week 2, Cayenne got the victory 33-32. So again, 1 point game as well. And then they met in week 12, another 1 point game came down to the wire. Matrix winning that 39-38. So it'll be the 4th meeting when these two teams meet up tomorrow night in the playoffs in Broussard.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. To be honest with you, two good teams. To be honest with you, when I'm watching women's two, depends the matchups. I think some women's two teams should be women's three. So sometimes that's the kind of the downscale when you're watching some of these games. But
And vice
um,
versa.
yeah, exactly. For women's one, I just feel like yeah, you do have the powerhouses Sub Zero, the amount of the talent they have, but Blue Pod, they're there too, and then also Kion and Matrix is also two elite teams. It's so crazy to kind of just to be able to watch some of these games where you don't get to see this talent anywhere else, where it's like a privilege to a point where like people have to realize like these are athletes that are most likely going to be representing Team Canada in the Olympics. So you get to be honest, you get to watch potential Olympic athletes play, and it's like,
Yeah.
kind of some people don't realize like how crazy that actually is. And I'm someone that I I would say I was training to go to the Olympics back in 2016 when I was running track and stuff like that. So when I got to go to when I got to go to national championships for track and field and stuff like that, and I got to see all these great guys like Andre DeGrasse, all these guys running and stuff, and I got to run against them. I'm just like, oh my god, like this is crazy. And all of a sudden, uh, flashback 3-4 years later, you get to see these guys compete for Team Canada in the Olympics. You're like, oh, I ran against these guys. So it's a bit different to compete, but it's to a point where, oh, I score kept this game, or I know who this girl is, or I know who this woman is. Like it's just it makes it so much more entertaining. And I think that's one thing that's crazy about like FPF, the fact that you get to see all this talent. And also just it makes it more just amusing to kind of just watch and stuff like that. So that's one thing that's like and it's also good football. It's not like it's bad football. It's good football to see, and you get to see how good the talent has gotten in the last few years and how much it's developed. So again, super excited to watch both of these semifinals. I'm hoping Blue Pud puts on a show against Sub Zero, and then I'm hoping Cayenne and Matrix is just back and forth. Either, to be honest, if it's defense, it's offense. I just hope it's two good games.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so as well. Uh, Again, obviously, you look at Blue Pod again, team, not as much experience and championship pedigree as Sub Zero, but they're going to show up to play, right? And hopefully they could try and pull off the upset, right? I mean, you look at this team. I see going through the roster right there. Emmanuel Brassard on the squad and Frederic, right? They got some playmakers on this team, right? So I mean, they're not just gonna show up and be like, oh well, we're playing Sub Zero, so we may as well just not show up and whatever. Not they're gonna come, they're gonna be ready to play and then try their best to get the W, right? So best of luck to this team on trying to get it done. And they have, like, again, like looking at this roster, right? They have some playmakers on this team, right? They have some players who've played at a high level here, and they're gonna try and do what they can, right, to pull off the upset. Uh, and you look at Cayenne and Matrix, right? Obviously, two teams right now. I know Cayenne, veteran squad, they're battling some injuries right now. I know some of the ladies, right now in terms of Team Canada. Some of the ladies a little upset right now for some of the things that are happening in terms of not being potentially named to the roster. Obviously, don't want to say too much right now, but I mean, Cayenne has a lot to play for right now. A lot of pride on the line for Cayenne. Matrix as well, right? Matrix, they're a team. Some young guns, I guess you could say, on the squad for the Matrix, right? Who are looking to prove that they belong on a national stage, right? So I mean, it's going to be a really big showdown, a lot of pride and on the line, and again, a chance to compete for a championship, right? This is what these ladies have signed up for here in FlagPlus Football, along with everybody else. But these ladies are playing in the top of the top, right? The cream of the crop, if you will, for women's football here in the province of Quebec. So a lot of these teams are going to be fighting for that championship and for the right to take on Sub Zero or Blue Pod, right? And it starts obviously tomorrow in Brassard to see who's going to represent Women's One.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, we did co-ed. We've done all the 5v5. We did the women's as well. Before we sign off, I just want to give, so we talked about Sarah Parker before, obviously with co-ed, obviously with Sub Zero, the head of the snake, if you will, for Sub Zero. I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah Parker. As many of you guys know, I'm a teacher, I'm an educator. I had a chance to hook up with Sarah yesterday. She came to the school that I'm working at, Verdun Elementary, to give a presentation. We had a multicultural assembly, and the theme of the multicultural assembly was celebrating the Olympics. And obviously, Sarah Parker is going to be trying to lead Team Canada in the 2028 games in LA. She's been a guest on our podcast in previous seasons. We're going to try and get her on if we can for next week. But Sarah was nice. She took about an hour or two out of her schedule to come out and talk to the kids at the school that I work at. Just talk to the kids about obviously the history of flag and about her excitement, obviously being one of the leaders and one of the players on Team Canada if they're able to qualify for the Olympics. Obviously, it's going to be 6 teams, so we're hoping she's going to be helping her team, helping Team Canada get to the Olympics. But she came out again, like I said, just talked to the kids about the Olympics, about her experience of being a flag football player, and some of some of what goes into that. Obviously, the training, the studying, obviously, that goes into that. Coming together with your players and executing on the field, and what it takes to be an Olympic athlete, right?
Mhm.
And shout out to Sarah as well, right? She just completed last week and she completed her Concordia career, 5 years playing for the Concordia Stingers. So a big shout out to her. As her university career came to an end. I know she told me right away, and she announced on social media as well that she's going to go into coaching. So I imagine she'll be coaching at Concordia for the upcoming flag season. So shout out to her on an amazing career and being one of the pioneers of this game of flag football, especially for the ladies, and inspiring a lot of females and a lot of young girls who are looking to kind of follow in her footsteps in playing. But again, just a big thank you to Sarah who came out to my school and just talked boys and girls. It wasn't just females; it was boys and girls that she talked to and really educated them on the game of flag football and just being a positive, being a role model, right? Staying in
Mhm.
school, hitting the books and that, and just showing these kids what it takes to be an athlete and to be a good person as she is, right? So again, shout out to Sarah for coming through and talking to the kids after done elementary. Much appreciated. Uh, and yeah, I think that'll do it. So best of luck to all the teams. They're going to be playing tomorrow and Monday nights in co-ed in 5v5 and all that in the women's division especially, right? It's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to be at Broussard tomorrow night checking out a ton of games tomorrow, so my Saturday has been booked. my Saturday, I'm doing some scorekeeping in the morning for the LaSalle flag football. I know, so that's actually something that's been kicked off. So I know Rob Campana along with Jeff and Nat and Ben, they've been working on Andy Peterkin, obviously Tyson and Emerson's dad. I've been working with them the last couple years doing tackles, so now they're launching their flag football season at Riverside, so it's near my house. So I'll be there tomorrow morning from 9:30 to 12:30. Gonna go home, grab a bite, try to hit the gym, and then head over to Broussard for a ton of action tomorrow night, starting at 6 p.m. So I know you'll be there as well, scorekeeping and checking out a lot of the games as well. So that should be pretty cool to see.
Yes, sir.
All right. Again, don't forget finals coming up. May 16th and 17th in Broussard at Complex CN. If you want to watch, see on FPF's YouTube channel or watch on Facebook Live. Again, the finals are special in FPF. We have the play-by-play, right? You're not sure about that catch. You're not sure about that tackle, that touchdown. We'll have play-by-play for you. Teams will have a challenge. You can go back and watch it live. Well, up to the minute stats. I know you'll be calling some games. I'll be calling some games as well during the whole weekend. I believe Jeff told me I think there's 19 games in all taking place over the Saturday and Sunday. Let me just double check that here before I shoot my mouth off for no reason.
I missed 21.
Sorry?
I missed 21.
21. All right. Well, ton of games going on. Super excited to see it. Like I said, we'll have So he said he told me 19 games over 2 days.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a lot of work. Obviously, Mirror Productions is going to be there showing you all the games and getting every single game. We'll have post game interviews, award presentations, banner presentations. So make sure if you can't come out in person to Broussard on the 16th and 17th, make sure you come out. Make sure you watch it on our YouTube channel on Facebook Live. I know the action starts both Saturday and Sunday, again, the 16th and 17th of May. First games will be taking place at 11 a.m. We're not sure what the lineup will be yet, but again, 11 a.m. all the action will start. So make sure to check that out. Don't forget the spring season as well. We'll be kicking off just a couple days after that, right? May 21st. May 21st, the spring season starts. I know I'll be playing, Quaysie be playing as well. So it'll be fun. Come check us out. Come say what's up. And again, as always, we want to get more people on the podcast. If you want to come on the podcast next week for the finals, I know we did that last year, right? We had players from both teams that came out. So if you want to come out to the pod, come on to the pod, let us know. Love to get you on here, talk a little trash, make a
For
prediction, give
sure.
your team a shout out and all that. The most exciting week, right? Finals week is coming up next week. So make sure if you want to be a part of that, reach out to us and we'll make it happen for sure.
Yep. we're all right.
All right. It's been a long day. We're out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to tune in next week again. Finals, last podcast of the season. Make sure you tune into that one. Big shout out to Omar, who's a big part of helping us get this episode running, and he's been a part of FPF for a long time. So shout out to Omar as well for all his patience today and making sure that you guys get to see this at home. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Finals are coming up. Super exciting. Have a good one. Have a great weekend too. And happy Mother's Day as well. My bad. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day that's coming up on Sunday. I forgot to say that in episode 1. Make sure to get that in there for this episode. Happy Mother's Day to my mom and all the other moms. Appreciate your day. That's right. Have a great day, I should say. Appreciate you.
Peace.